Everything you'll hear in your life is a lie. That's just the truth. Some people lie about their jobs just to make themselves feel better about what they do. I upset a bartender because I called him bartender. And he marched on over all angry and he said, "No, I am a mixologist." Well, mix me a Budweiser, motherfucker. Can you do that? Here's why it didn't work out with me and the tall girl, because we couldn't do everything together. For example, we could only 6 to the power of 9. This is an expensive town to live in. I don't know how you guys do it in New York City. It's just, I met a policeman who had a side job as a psychic and palm reader. He had a shop called Show Me Your Hands! It's a difficult job. People don't realize it, how difficult it is to be a comedian. All these rules you have to follow. You can't do cancer jokes, ever. Rape jokes are inappropriate, always. Menstruation jokes are not funny, period. You guys have no idea.
Hey, everybody. I'm Gary Jackson, founder of Hip2B² Comedy. Tonight is going to be a live stream of some of my favorite people on the planet. 2 local people here in Knoxville, Tennessee, which are the funniest people. Well, there's a lot of funny people here in Knoxville, but the 2 of the greatest ones that I wanted to have on my, the first show. And one of my oldest, wouldn't say old is an age per se, but one of my longest friends, one of the friends that I've had adventures with all over the world, Paul Ogata. So I'm going to be bringing to the stage right now, Beth Tomkins, who's the founder of True Grit. I'm going to be bringing Madison Duren, who's the local, hilarious Knoxville local comic. And all the way from LA is Paul Ogata. What's up, Paul?
Hello, humans.
So this was crazy. Just trying to get everything set up, like doing a Brady Bunch setup. I used to think the 70s Brady Bunch was so easy. This stuff is hard, man. Get all this stuff together. Beth had to go up into my wife's office at the last minute. I kicked her off the couch.
See this lovely family? This is not my lovely family. Make it work. I'll make it work.
Yes, and then we have Madison's in my closet right here in the back, but it looks pretty good there, Madison, with all the lights and the setup.
Yeah, it's not too bad. Not too bad at all.
He's just being nice. He didn't know what to say. He's like, well, that was shitty.
Look at all these lights.
This is hilarious. It's like when you're watching the news and they go, "Let's go live to Mark at our weather center," and it's just the next table over. This is great.
Exactly, it's right in there. So, but by the way, so Paul, have you been to Tennessee before?
I can't remember. I know I did a ton of military bases domestically, and I was in that general area, but I can't remember if I stopped in Tennessee at some point to do shows. But if I did, it would have been at a military base.
Got it. So you've never done like a Nashville show or a Memphis show?
No, this would be the first time I had to talk to civilians in Tennessee.
Wow, that's great. And by the way, I think Knoxville is different than Nashville and Memphis in the sense that Nashville has become the new LA. That's what we say, because a lot of the Los Angeles people are gravitating to Nashville to do music and movies and stuff there. So the cool people, I believe, Beth, Madison, tell me, I think Knoxville's the place, right? That's where cool people are.
I think a lot is happening here. It's got a history, it's got a past, and Madison's the newer of the 2 of us to the scene, but I haven't been in but maybe about 6 years I'm coming up on. And there are folks that show up at shows, or I've done work with locally that talk about decades ago Knoxville comedy. But a lot is definitely cooking now, between having a spot on a local festival now for comedians to perform year to year, to all the shows developing to possibly a club coming to town. Like there's a lot cooking right now.
Well, and so let me ask you though, as we're setting the stage for Paul to come here, what was the stage? I mean, how's it been? What is the history of Knoxville comedy? How has that kind of transpired? Because I kind of think of you as the mother of Knoxville comedy right now. I know there's a lot of mothers and fathers, but
I mean, it takes a village, and there's the word idiot figures in somewhere there for me. But we all start somewhere. But I mean, my version of it is, simply that a lot of people that I meet now, when I mention comedy in Knoxville, they ask about the club we had 12, 13 years ago now called Side Splitters. Before that, it was one of the Comedy Zone sort of franchises or whatever. Same side of town out in West Knoxville. And, we had all kinds of, national touring comics come through. It was an opportunity for a lot of the independent comedians to drop in, like from doing the open mic during the week to possibly being able to open for a headliner. There was like a healthy competition to foster that sort of growth and dedication, which is great. But when the club shut down, the only option became independent comedy. And that's, when I came in, there were different venues like Sassy Ann's and Long Branch Saloon and, Scruffy City Hall's been doing comedy for well before I had anything to do with it. But it's always been sort of these independent pockets. And then, out of that, though, we've got comedians like Trey Crowder, Drew Morgan, Corey Ryan Forrester, Henry Cho, Leanne Morgan, regularly in the circuit. But we don't see them so much at the open mics and the showcases even that we do. And I think it's just that lack of sort of a centralized venue that we can all sort of share and promote, So still, there's a lot of healthy competition with the independent comedy circuit and sort of the group that we have here. But, I'm maybe a mother figure, which is great. Like, I'll take that.
Yeah, you're a godmother. You're our godmother.
Mother's Day's coming up, so bring the gifts on. I'll give you my Venmo at the end. It's fine. But I respect the people that helped me get where I am. There's a lot of names that, I can definitely give credit to for helping build me up, watching them build up other folks and still being part of the community, even when they didn't have an active show or something to promote. Those are the people that help bring me up. And that's who I try to kind of reflect.
And to be honest, one of the things that I wanted to kind of say on, just kind of ask Madison's opinion of this, because he's kind of newer to the scene, is I know there's a competition a little bit, but I really see it all as a family. Everyone wants everyone. Like, for example, the day that we're doing Paul's shows, there's Don't Tell comedy at the exact same time, which I think is great because the goal is to kind of spin off and, inspire others to do this. I mean, Madison, how do you feel about, like, is it a family? Is it a competition? Is there dirty secrets that we don't know about that people are talking crap to each other and they're like, you're going down, sucker?
Madison?
Here's the thing is that I don't know anything. I'm willfully ignorant. I know
no one tells you
kinds of drama that goes on behind the scenes, and I know nothing about it. It's fantastic. I'm just like, oh, you guys don't like each other? Well, that's fine. I like everybody. It's okay. I like I said, I'm the new guy. I don't know anybody well enough to not like anyone. Everybody's been very welcoming to me.
Very quickly. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
No, sorry. I did want to let you know you had a notification come up that WWE Raw is coming up. Just to give you a heads up, Gary. But
well, I'm sorry. What do you mean? WWE Raw? Oh, right. It's going to be hitting the Knoxville circuit. Well, I think.
We thought you had to go get like your leotard and your opening music ready and like. Da-da-da.
Yes. Well, to be honest, that's where we were going with it. We had reached out to the mayor, Glenn Jacobs, and we were gonna try to do Mayor like Kane. An old, Mayor Kane. We were gonna do like an old flashback. I talked to his staff, and they were super nice, very sweet, but they were just like, we've got so much going on, like, budgets and taxes and, Tennessee laws that are kind of crazy that they're passing. So we couldn't make it. But, I still believe, fingers crossed, he might secretly sneak into a show. That's my number
so
goal.
cool.
And my goal is, which would be great. He's 7 foot tall. Like, You know,
This is
I mean,
sneaking
7 foot
into
tall.
a show.
But I mean, you know, and he's a really nice guy. Have either one of you met him in person in Knoxville? Mayor Kane?
No.
Glenn Jacobs. Let's call him his real
Not had the
name
pleasure.
because I don't want him to beat me up. Go ahead.
I'll just say no.
Have you ever met him? You never met him?
Nope,
No, I have
not
not.
yet.
I have not had the opportunity.
Okay, well, yeah, okay. Well, I'm very excited about. I think he's going to kind of come out and be able to be a part of this.
That'd be
Hopefully,
great.
that's my fingers crossed. So, Paul, what is before you get here? You know, before you travel somewhere, and I know you've done this before. You always have perceptions of what it's going to be like before you get there. You know, I've always imagined like when I went to Paris, what it's going to be. Everyone with baguettes going, yeah, you know, just smoking. Knoxville, do you imagine the hillbillies that are on Bugs Bunny and they're pulling their beard? Like, what do you imagine for Knoxville when you come here?
I just thought it was going to be wrestlers and cocaine bears out in Knoxville.
Yeah. That's the spirit, Paul. You're going to be just fine here.
That's
That is a true
Cocaine
story.
Bear is the mayor.
Gary Jackson was going to sell tickets to cocaine bears. Well, this is great. There's another
Gotta think
state
about
that
bears.
just last week they found a cocaine cat, right? It wasn't Tennessee, but it was somewhere. It was a like an exotic cat. It was an illegal to own cat, and it was high on cocaine. And the fire department tried to rescue it out of a tree, and it got twitchy, and it fell down, broke his leg, and that's how they were able to drug test this
Cat?
I don't know what kind of cat it was.
Oh.
Yeah,
Illegal to own? That's probably a Florida thing, you know.
it's got all the hard marks
Definitely.
of Florida, right? Drugs,
It
illegal to
does.
own
Yeah.
animals.
I was going to say, didn't we already have a cocaine cat? We all watched
They
Tiger
love
King,
their
right?
exotics, man. They do.
Yes. So so Paul, so you have been on the ocean for what, a week? I think it is. Is that
2
right?
weeks. I just got back last night, and
Yeah, and I mean,
yeah.
I mean, go ahead. Sorry, Paul.
No, and you mentioned sea legs earlier in the pre-show, but yeah, I mean, I've been out at sea so much that I don't get much of that sea leg stuff anymore. Although one time I was floating off the coast of Libya with some Marines on an amphibious assault ship, and the seas were very rocky. Those are tiny ships, and I was in a bad way. I was vomiting, and I thought I was going to die. I didn't know you could feel that way with seasickness, but I thought I was going to die. And then luckily for me, the corpsmen on the ship, the Navy doctors, they pumped me full of, I don't know what kind of drugs it was, but they shot me up with stuff, and I was able to go and do the shows out there.
Wow.
So thanks for doing what you do, U.S. Navy.
Yeah. And by the way, so that's something I wanted to bring out. We are, you know, for anyone first responder, military, come to the door, military first responders, $20, you know, no question. Well, you have to show your valid military ID or whatever, but we just want you in. We want to basically support the military and the first responders that come in. You know, there was you know what I was going to do, which is so stupid. I don't know why I'm saying this now, but as I was trying to decide, you know, who should I give discounts? I was like, hey, maybe I should give hairstylists discounts. But I was like, well, let's go with the military, first responders. They do help emergencies, but not the same type of emergencies. So, yeah, I think I chose well with military and first responders. Right.
Who takes care of all of their sharp haircuts?
Exactly. Right. So you're in you're in California right now. So is it raining cats and dogs? Is it the end of
raining.
the world?
It's not torrential downpours like it was a few weeks ago, but it's still raining. It's freezing here. It's 60 degrees in California. That's Cali cold.
Bless your heart. That's a Tennessee stand for you. Bless your heart.
That's why I'm wearing this thick
Yeah,
winter
that's
coat
frame
here
for a
in
second,
California.
You're gonna
60 degrees.
By the way, that's going to be our highs when you're here, by the way. So the highs while you're here are going to probably be in your 60s, which is actually great because today is the first day of spring. And I think it was 38 degrees. I think it was, right? Knoxvillians.
It was
By the way, you
35
look really
all day.
Yeah, Beth, you look really good there in that office. That looks like that was made for you, by the way.
Hey, the glow of a computer screen has done me so much good in my life, so I'm gonna make it work for me.
Yeah. And the other, so what I wanted to also ask is, as we're doing this, like, Beth, how did you get your start? How did you get started with this? Because have you wanted to do it all your life, just never had a chance? How did you do it?
Well, I was an only child that grew up in the 1980s in the country, so clearly I've needed the attention for a long time. But genuinely, I love telling this story, even though it's not the easiest. It's very true that I started comedy because I was extremely depressed. And it wasn't the typical, gosh, everything's terrible and nothing's working out, but genuinely, honestly, truthfully, like, I don't know that I need to be here at all anymore. And me being a parent, that's a really hard thing to admit, but I'm also like a human being. And so,
Right.
I'm thankful for my son being that to me. But the other thing that I had that anchored me and keeps me going is basically a friend asking me if I was okay, and me saying, no, not really, and trying to describe being sad and feeling down, and not saying that I just didn't want to be here, but like she got it. And so
Right.
her suggestion to try to help me in her own way was that maybe since I like comedy and she knows that I've found Kids in the Hall on Saturday Night Live, and I'd gone to Side Splitters, for shows before and stuff, that maybe I could go watch like some comedy, some stand up. And so she recommended a little venue in the city here called Pilot Light that has or had at the time a Monday weekly open mic / sort of theme mic. And it was free. There was beer. And I had my son on Monday. So I was like, why not? Like, I will just go watch some comedy. And then I watched this madhouse of people of all ages and backgrounds and different life stories and made up stories, all just collaborating within like this hour-ish format, and then like hanging out and talking a little bit after. And sort of, I don't know, it was, I didn't need to feel like I was part of it to feel like who's going to tell me to leave, right?
Right.
I thought, I mean, if it's an open mic, I could probably do this, like just to have something to do. Because, at the end of it, they're like, if you think you'd like to try stand up or you're new and just starting out, like everybody's welcome. I thought, well, fine. And so I went back and actually signed up the next week as Beth with 2 F's. Did my 3-ish minutes out of 5 of talking about myself, my weight, being a mom, my age, all the things my ex-boyfriends will tell you are my hang-ups, which is fine. And it wasn't the funniest. It was great to me because I was like, this is the end of the rope. Like I'm going out in a blaze of confusion right now. These people are 20 years old looking at me like, is that my mom's friend that picked me up in 4th grade? Anyway, so I did it though. Like I did that thing. I got up and I did the thing, and like I didn't get told to leave, and like I stayed just long enough to like pay my tab and wasn't trying to make friends, wasn't trying to talk. And the host came up and said, hey, was this your first time tonight doing stand up? And I was like, yeah. He's like, you're welcome to come back anytime. Glad to have you. That was it. Like, that was it. I was like, okay, like lifesaver. Wow. And I can't not tell that story. So shout out to Tyler Sonicson, to Friendly Town, Pilot Light.
Shout out Tyler.
But yeah, that was huge for me as an individual. And now look at me. So that is
you're in my wife's office.
Yeah, I know. But look at this beautiful family. That isn't my family. But yeah, and my son's 14. He helps me write jokes. He's heard a version of that story, and the internet being what it is, he'll dig through the archives someday and see this too. But yeah, I try to incorporate that into what I do. So I try to welcome people just starting out. I try to let it roll off my shoulders if people seem like they're down or not interested in talking to me, because maybe they got that stuff going on too. And so, the longer I've been in comedy, I've learned to leave a little more room for people to kind of be in that space that I've found myself in. And since then, I've never found myself that low, which is a good thing to be able to say. But I've definitely had some low moments, and comedy's been a big part of helping me continue on, to get through it when I'm going through it.
By the way, to be honest, you were one of the reasons I even wanted to do this, because I just saw how inclusive you are. I know I was kind of hiding in the shadows. I come sporadically to some of the shows, but just seeing how you're inclusive to everyone, and you're never, I guess, the opposite of me. Paul knows, never get angry with your audience. You never get upset. Never go. Never assault the audience. So
I appreciate
it's
that.
you're so good to us. So I love you for being part of the scene, and that's why I wanted to make sure you were first. We've got some questions here. I need to make sure we get to. So I know Darren wanted me to ask Madison why you're vegan.
You're not dealing with the beef.
About the beef.
Yeah,
It's
about the
because
beef.
when I got to the scene, the beef was already bad. Like, it's already old, man. It's already old beef. I have no reason for me to mess with it. Like,
I'm sorry. So you're saying the beef was cut like these cows were killed like a decade ago, and you're eating it now, and that's why you're vegan? I don't
it's
understand.
been a while, man. That's from my understanding. Again, I'm super ignorant to it. Ignorance is bliss, right? Here we are.
But you're in great shape, by the way. I have to admit, though, you're in great shape. So there you go.
Yeah, that's just from my day job. Man.
Yeah, and
Hope to
so
quit
I
that
want
soon.
you to tell Paul what you do, by the way. So his boss is Warren Buffett. So explain
That's true.
your background.
So I build homes for Clayton during the day. Clayton Home Building Group. Work in the vinyl siding department. It's it's a job. It is a job that gets me to. It allows me the time to do what I truly enjoy doing, which is bringing joy to others and getting on stage and coming up with things that make all of us laugh. If it doesn't make you laugh the first time, I'll figure out a way to make you laugh next time.
And then worst case, you tickle them. You just go for it.
Well, I don't want to get in trouble, but
oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah, we're at a different age. I keep forgetting. We're from the 80s. So like, just touch anybody you want. It's all good. Yeah, it's all good. But I have to say though, someone just asked, Chelsea just asked Madison if you'll come to New Mexico and build her a house.
Build you a house, Chelsea? Sure. You know what? On my next weekend off, I got you.
But that's a skill, by the way. We're making fun of it, but so the claim to fame is Warren Buffett flew to Knoxville, talked to the owners of Clayton Homes, bought Clayton Homes on a handshake, and then left. So he's that close to the richest person on the planet. So that's a skill.
He just shook the wrong guy's hand, really.
He should have shaken yours.
I was right there, and he wwent to go shake my hand, and then John grabbed it instead.
Oh, got it.
Situation.
That's it. Got it. Well, no, Darren. So I have a question for you, Paul. Darren was asking, how is changing? As you go from city to city, how are demographics changing, and how's your style changed? And this is just me talking. I've known you for a number of years. I've seen some of your old jokes. I've seen some of your new jokes, and I've seen how you interact with the crowd. I think your style just gets faster and faster. What is your take on that as your travel and how all of that?
Well, mostly audiences are going to be the same no matter where you go. You might have to tweak a reference or two, but generally, jokes that work in one place should work in other places. The more you try to change what you do, I think the more you take yourself out of the game and mentally and you get thrown off while you're on stage. So just be you, and if hopefully they like you, right? There's not much else you can do, not many other people you can be but yourself. So I try to stay true to that. But you're right, even from that clip that you played at the beginning of this live, it was from a special I shot a bunch of years ago, and I'm looking at that. Like, wow, I used to speak that slowly, and now it's
I was thinking of that. It was a slow cadence.
Yeah, it was, and I thought, I think the director on that one told me to try and not speak fast. So maybe that's why I was deliberately trying to slow it down so that I would be audible and understandable to somebody. Because sometimes I'll get cocaine bear. Speaking of cocaine bear, I'll just be. I want to get these ideas out of my head before I forget them, and it gets lost in the synapses between the brain and the soft palate.
So I've heard a story about the shooting of that show, and correct me if I'm wrong. So My story I heard is that you had a comic before you, don't know who the name of that one was, didn't do so well, but then there was like a 2 hour wait or a 1 hour wait before you got up on stage, and a lot of people were ready to go, and so you had to turn that crowd on a dime, and you crushed it. Is that true? Like you had to keep them wanting to stay because they were
Well, what happened
getting
was this
antsy?
other comedian,
Yeah.
and his name is
Won't
Shang.
say
He's
his
a
name.
funny comedian and a friend of mine.
Oh,
But he was
okay.
shooting a special
Okay.
in New York City, and they get, usually when you shoot a special, you do more than one shot at it. You get two
Right.
shows or more, and they edit together the best of those things. So he scheduled two shows that night, and the producer, the executive producer, who's also a friend of mine, said, "Why don't we put you at the end, and then you can shoot a special in one go,
Okay.
so that what you see is all one take. It's not cobbled
Wow.
together from other things." Um,
Okay.
so the audience did not know that they'd have to be there
Oh,
for all of these things. They were, and it's not like
Oh,
we
no.
sold tickets and said, "Hey, come see comedy," and we filled the place. But it was, we basically like any Hollywood shoot, you bring in people, you bring in an audience, you have an audience wrangler, and they will arrange for an audience to come to the show. So they thought they were going to be there to watch two tapings of Shang. And then at the
right.
end, when they were probably thinking, "All right, I get to go home now," the audience wrangler said, "No, no, you guys sit back down. We're doing one more." And people were livid because they thought they could go, but they
I
were
mean, I heard
angry.
they
They
were
were
angry. They
fuming.
were physically angry.
They were ready to stab somebody, and they said, "Okay, now just sit down. We're gonna do." And it's not like they immediately turned on the cameras. No, now they've got to reset the stage. They have to
Yeah.
change the lighting. People were furious. So when I got up and they started shooting, they said, "Ladies and gentlemen, Paul Ogata." I came out, and people were just like,
Ooh,
so, and I won them over finally. But at the end, the director said, "All right, you know what? Now that you won them over, we need to reshoot the very beginning because they fucking hated you when you walked out." So, yeah, I walked out, and
But
there
you
were
know what?
actually smiley faces.
I mean, to be honest, there was some great. I mean, I don't, I think it was a really good special. And it was really, at that time, knowing you, that was really encapsulated your best stuff. But I did want to ask you, how did the pandemic's not wasn't easy on any of us. COVID was not easy on any of us, but especially in comedy, especially a comedian that's your job to pay bills. What did you do? How did you make it through that?
Well, luckily, shows started to open up, I would say maybe 5 months in, around me
Okay.
anyway, in California. And it wasn't regular shows. I did shows in parking lots. I did shows um, in clubs, but there were only 20 people in the whole room just because of social distancing and spacing everybody out. So it was very different.
Right.
And the money, of course, wasn't the same. That got me through a
Right.
little bit. Luckily, the government offered a lot of lifelines to people. There were
Yeah.
grants available to artists. So that was a big help also. But for the first few months, first 3 months of the pandemic, I was
Uh-huh.
unsure that they were going to cancel live entertainment
Right.
forever because it's a
Right.
transmission vector. I speak this way, and people laugh this way, and everybody dies. Uh, it was. I don't know how you would explain to future generations, Paul. What did you used to do? I'm like, I was paid to travel as a cautionary tale of
Right.
low self-esteem while yelling opinions at alcoholics. That was my job, and it doesn't make any sense when you
Pay
say
to
it
be
out
a
loud.
transmitter.
Yeah,
I've got a
I
question for
create
Paul.
patient zeros. That's what I do.
What were you going to say, Beth? Go ahead.
I've got a question for Paul. Paul, did you venture into doing any online comedy?
We refer to that as the very dark place. No, online comedies. So
I can hear Darren laughing from here. No.
that's
Yeah. Madison. Somebody check on
in
Madison.
comedy. It's very simple in
Sorry.
comedy. You just need a live performer in front of a live audience. These are the two simple things you need to do stand-up comedy well. You remove any one of those two things, and the wheels fall off. Like I've seen You go to the improv sometimes and they play videos of comedians before the show. Here's upcoming, here's whoever it is coming in. They show a clip of that, and the audience never laughs because
Right.
they're watching a video of somebody and they're a live
Right.
audience. Or the opposite of that is the Zoom shows, like you said, Beth, where oftentimes you're a comedian speaking to a screen of muted silhouettes.
Right.
And so you don't get any feedback, you don't get any response, and it's a live art form. It's a dynamic thing. It's a two-way street. You need both. So yeah, I tried it and I hated it. And in the beginning of the pandemic, it paid well.
Yeah.
I'm a
It
hole.
did?
I'm a hole, a dirty
Yeah.
hole.
You already said it. I already said it once. So yeah. That's twice. It's true.
No, I definitely respect that. I as soon as stuff started shutting down, I got with Duren, who's in the chat with us, and which is awesome, by the way, to have another fellow.
Good to have you,
local
Duren.
But Duren is a very techie guy. He knows OBS Studio. He does Twitch, Discord, all the good stuff, and I am not that person. But I knew who to talk to when it came to trying to pull something together so that we didn't just lose it all. Like you said, it goes away. So what happened was we tried to do an online showcase kind of thing and pick a couple of comics each week to have featured. And what it ended up as is basically something like this, where we got to know these comics from all over the country, talk to them about what they had been doing, what they were doing. And so with the intention of doing a mic online or a show online, it was really just more like this kind of dialogue. And it was super cool. And an experience that I loved that I was a part of, but it didn't quite fit the bill. So I definitely went into other online mics to try to figure out how are they doing it? How are they making it work? And some of them were not making it work. Some of them have sustained and are still a thing. But as
Still
you said,
going?
a live audience and a live performer are two very different things than a screen of people with mic delays and questionable audio quality and fashion choices and are there pants involved, and it's fair.
Right.
No.
But
No
much
on my
respect
part.
to hear that. Sorry, Matt.
But so Beth, did you so was there any shows that you found that were just phenomenal that still go on that are online that you would still recommend?
Honestly, the ones that I ended up either being part of or observing, I don't know that they're around anymore, but honestly, I've also turned a lot of my energy back into being focused on being able to do the live work again, to be able to network with traveling comics and get them back on stage and give them those opportunities and bring in the locals and those opportunities. And online, I can't give my energy to even sort of keeping up with that because it's another totally different lane than the one I'm in.
Right. And it's, as you could tell before we got the show started, getting your AirPods working, getting different camera angle. It's just a pain in the butt when you can just stand up on a box and talk to a bunch of strangers. That's so much easier.
I am going to bring the pictures of this family with me though, Friday and Saturday. They will be behind me. Not my family, but they will support me.
Right. Yeah. Well, you know what? My family is your family now, Beth. So it's all good. Cool. But I did want to ask.
Brenda, we need to get copies of those pictures.
Yeah. By the way, too, a shout out to my wife. I don't know how she puts up with me and how she puts up with all of this. Yeah, Brenda is just phenomenal. It's funny. She told me early. She's always 2 steps ahead of me. And she said, "You're going to need this camera." No, I don't. I told her, "Get off the camera." And of course, we did need it. So thank you, my beautiful wife, for doing this.
The
by the way,
too, man. Even with the
beers. Yeah, just supporting us from that. What's also amazing too is it's amazing to have someone that supports you in this. Sometimes when you're doing stand-up comedy, it's a lonely. I mean, you talked about it, Beth. You're trying to work out. It's kind of free therapy. You're trying to get out and trying to find other people like yourselves, like yourself, to be able to get out and to have someone support you. Or I feel like it's like a church family. Comedy is more of a satanic church, but it's still a church. And it's awesome. But it's great. I wanted to ask Paul, what is the craziest location you've ever did stand-up comedy? Craziest. You cannot. I know you did a swinger thing. We've seen that one, but anything crazier than the swinger convention?
Yeah, it just seems like it's a never-ending parade of can you top this? And life just keeps pouring random shit at me. I've done shows for an organized crime family where the leader of the organized syndicate was let out of prison and they had a
Wow.
family reunion. It wasn't presented to me as such. The guy who booked me said, "Hey, do you want to do a party for? It's a family party." And I was like, "Oh yeah, I'll do a family party." No, he meant like family party, and so it was. When I actually rolled up to the place, there was a white van across the street. It was like the FBI taking pictures of everybody who's entering and exiting the facility. And so I've got a dossier somewhere, I guess. And
hopefully you took the gun and the
language.
cannoli.
yes. So there's that. And you and I, Gary, were in Japan, and the Yakuza sent their comedian over to challenge us. That was crazy.
To do
it
a
wasn't even a
duel.
show we were doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's what happened. We were in Japan, in Roppongi in Tokyo, and we were at the bar where the show was going to be the following night. And at the bar, sitting over a whiskey, was a shadowy figure. And, you could see him smoking in this bar and tattoos. And he's got like the whole tube of gel in his hair. And he reeks of every Japanese organized crime actor or character you've seen in a movie, and he's listening to what's going on, and he gets on his phone. Like 20 minutes later, the Yakuza brings their comedian over because I guess the guy said, "Oh, there's American comedians, so we need to show them what Japanese comedy's all about."
Paul, can
And
we
the guy
see your
challenged-
pinky on your right hand? Is it still there?
Oh, it's all good. It's all good right there. The shame I brought on my family. No, and so he challenged us, and if he could make us laugh, every time we'd laugh, we'd have to do a shot of tequila. And Gary broke early and often. Oh my God!
I didn't want us to get killed. I was just gonna laugh.
Yeah, well, first of all, I didn't understand what he was saying, so I just stood there looking and not laughed. And he tried his hardest, dude. He took off his clothes, he slapped his belly fat, he was screaming.
Yeah. He was doing a show for his life. I think I worried that he was going to get killed if we didn't laugh for him. So I was laughing hard.
And I didn't laugh, and we had a good time when we drank, and he's probably murdered by now.
But I have to say that is
not murder.
Friday and Saturday you're going to kill. But I will say that's not even the greatest story. The greatest story that I tell everybody that actually was a message to me or lesson to me was we finally got the show going in Tokyo. So it was, by the way, all of the things that I end up doing is because I challenge, I feel obligated. No. But I told Paul when I first met him a couple of years before, I'm like, one day you will do a show in Tokyo. And then I'm like, well, I got to make that happen. So I did. Now when I'm, and now in Knoxville, I'm like, oh, we got to create a comedy club in Knoxville. So I'm going to do that. So when we got the show going in Tokyo, the show started. Remember this? The show got started. You were on stage. It was a sold out show. It was packed. It was a small little venue, obviously. And then there was a knock on the door, and this big Rick Ross looking Yakuza guy just barged in, pushed you to the side on your stage, and went to the bar. And the audience, like, there was a hush in the crowd because, like, oh God, what's going to happen here? Paul, you got back up on the stage and just started hitting him with jokes, just hitting him. And he, and I've got it on video. I'm going to give it to you when you come here. He apologized from the bar. So, he started bowing and then left. And I just thought I don't even think he knew what you were saying, but because the crowd was roaring with laughter, just the audacity of what you were saying about pimping ain't easy. And, what are you, a gangster for hire? Like, are you a gangster of love? Like, you were just going after this guy. I just thought that is what pure comedy is. You can fight with your hands. You can fight, you can get angry, or you can kill them with jokes. And you really killed them with jokes. I'll always remember that show. Anyway, sorry.
It was 50-50. I might have ended up in a Tokyo landfill. But yeah, you got to do what you got to do.
Right. So Madison, this is your first time opening for like a headliner from, Hollywood. And You know, are you nervous? Are you excited? Or are you
Yeah,
urinating on yourself?
Well, yeah, this is intense, to say the least. I am super excited. The mild anxiety definitely set in yesterday, but like
Yeah.
in my head, I know that like it's gonna be fine. Like that first
Yeah.
show, maybe I'll be a little shaky, but then that
Yeah.
second, third, fourth show, we're gonna crush it. It's gonna be great. Um,
Just be
yeah,
yourself.
this is
Just have fun.
I've
Just have fun.
I've only been at it for like a little over a year, so you know, yeah, the nervousness is still there, but I think it's gonna be a great time. I'm super excited, man.
Well, just think about it. I just pulled your name out of a hat. That's why you're number one. So it was destiny to have you here. So it's
Madison
all
Duren,
good, Madison. Stats are in your favor. Yeah. But just have fun. I mean, one of the things I was just wanting to do is kind of, you know, mix it up a little bit. Have someone with experience to, you know, the fairy godmother of Knoxville comedy, and just throw it in. And I mean, look at me.
Have the rookie
told
bad
myself,
boy, right?
the rookie bad boy who builds homes for Warren Buffett. That's what I was thinking.
Do that
wanted to
pose
suck
again.
up.
Do that pose again. Do it. That's his
Exactly.
stat,
Rookie
Paul.
bad
That's
boy.
all he does.
Yes. And then, so Paul, when you arrive, there's going to be 200,000 people here fishing. Like, I've never heard of this before in my life, but apparently Bassmasters is the Super Bowl of fishing. And what's convenient for all of us is the bass tournament ends every night at 6:00, gives them an hour to go and eat, and then they can come to our show. So have you ever seen a Super Bowl of fishing in your life? How does that happen? How does that work?
I don't know. Are there enough fish there?
They race down the river in their boats.
It's
It's
the main
wild.
thing
Is that what
is
they
enough
Like,
Bud
you
Light
just
and Yeti
see-
coolers. They're gonna
You'll
make
see
it work.
fishing boats just race past at like, you know, unsafe speeds, 65 miles per hour on the water.
Wow.
It's intense.
Well,
They just
But
all
I
pass
did
the line
during the
trying to get to
pandemic.
next
I did a
spot.
series of shows in Mexico, and one of them was for a fishing tournament. So this, I guess it'll be, well, it wasn't for the whole fishing tournament. It was like for the second place boat. They had their own party, and so I was hired to do comedy at this private party for the second place boat in a fishing tournament in Baja, Mexico. And I was like, well, congratulations to the almost winners of. Hopefully next year you can apply yourselves harder and kill more of God's sea children. Way to go.
I mean, we're landlocked
But you know what?
city that has lots of sushi restaurants. I don't really know what to tell you to expect anymore.
Yeah, by the way, one thing I want to say is, why is it Knoxville has so much seafood here and it's so far away from the sea? I have no idea. Makes
We're
no
ambitious.
sense.
Everybody has
It's very-
connections.
Yeah, that's totally true. But one thing that I did hear, though, is apparently the Tom Brady of fishing is coming back. He's won the tournament twice, which still statistically just blows my mind. How do you win it twice in a row? But the Tom Brady is coming back to defend his championship. So yeah, it's just anyway, I don't know how you do that. How do you win out of 200,000 people? I have no idea. So, but I want them at the show though. So there is a discount for those people that are at Bassmasters, which is funny. Paul thought it was Ass Masters.
Yeah, the B is
didn't
important.
realize.
Maybe it was Big Ass Masters.
Madison can report live on the scene for us before the show Friday.
Yeah,
Right there if it's the Big Ass Masters.
that's right. So I promised everybody it would be a hard stop, and I totally went over. Brenda's probably killing me right now because she is so punctual with everything. But I did want to kind of go around the what do you call it? The Brady Bunch squares, and get your last takes for what you're anticipating for this weekend. So let's start with you, Madison, first. Like, what do you anticipate? What is a good weekend for you this weekend in Knoxville with Hip2B²?
A good weekend this weekend?
Other than getting
Well,
laid or finding your wife or something like
yeah. That's always a second priority, of course. um, I am super looking forward to working with Paul, getting to do a show with Beth. Her and I have never done like a real show like this before together, so I'm very excited for that. It should just be a fun weekend, man. It's supposed to warm up.
Yeah.
It's pathetic how much my demeanor depends on the weather at 32, and I hate it.
Yeah. But it's also Tennessee's going to be in the Sweet 16 this weekend too. So, I mean, they play tomorrow. So it could be.
Right. Basketball.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
So
Go
I'm
Vols.
praying.
Go Vols.
Go Vols. I definitely want them to win, but when I do worry, I just want them to play their tournament game before our Saturday show. That's all I want. That's what I've asked God for. Yeah. That's or the universe to do. But and Beth, how do you see this weekend? What's a win for you?
I mean, I think getting enough sleep and
True.
avoiding the Bassmaster trailers as much as possible. But no, I look forward to the show. I think we're gonna have a good turnout and probably a mix, kind of like what Madison and I are used to seeing, like through the week or like midweek with the open mics and shows, is like a mix of local people that are just in town for the tournament or whatever, and just coming together for like a common cause. So it's gonna be really cool to look out in the audience and see a mix of like familiar faces and trucker hats with Bass Pro logos on them, and I'm gonna feel so at home. Yeah. Enough sleep and managing to keep up. I think that's the goal.
You know what, to be honest too, no one talks about that, but sleep. One thing that COVID taught me, sleep. Oh my God. Why did we not sleep like this before COVID? I don't understand, but yes, sleep and sleep. So for me, a win is just basically trying to make sure that all of you are having a blast. I don't care if one person shows up. I mean, Paul knows this. Some of the best audiences I've ever done is 2 people in the crowd, and it was hilarious. Sometimes you can have too many in the crowd and it just sucks. But I don't want to stop that. I want everybody to come. I don't want to jinx it there. Yeah, but I just want everybody to come and have a great time. I want you to relish in what Knoxville can bring and what it can do, especially having back-to-back shows. I'm just excited about that. And Paul, how do you feel? Like, what is your win for coming to Knoxville, having a good weekend?
Well, I love being in new places and doing comedy to new people. So I'm really looking forward to meeting all the Knoxvillians and doing comedy in senior town.
Just don't take him to Marable.
Yeah, don't take him to Marable. Yeah. Go ahead.
I think it's time to cut a wrestling promo directly to your chief executive there. So Glenn Jacobs, Mr. Mayor. Yeah. The big red machine. I'm coming to your town and I run your town, sucker. I mean, I know you do because you're the mayor, but just hear me out on this. I'm challenging you to a laugh off. That's right. I will do my comedy, and if you laugh, if you even so much as giggle, you give me the key to your stupid town so that I can finally run a town for once. How about that? And if I fail at making you laugh audibly, then I will leave your town, never to come back again until you got another one of those cocaine bears, because those are pretty good. I want to see one up close. Yeah, so it's going to be you and me, big red machine, versus me, a little yellow fellow. LOL in a sound, Knoxville, Hip2B² comedy at the Square Room. Yeah, I'm Paul Ogata, and I approve this mess.
That was fantastic. That is a great way to end this. So love all of you. Can't wait to have you, Paul, and host you here in Knoxville. For those who have not bought your tickets, please go to Hip2B² Comedy. And we do have a little competition going on between Beth and Madison. If you use Beth, you get $5 off. Use Madison, you get $5 off for the online tickets. Remember, online tickets stop on the day of the show. So buy your tickets now. Beth, $5, or Madison, $5. We didn't give you a coupon ticket. there, Paul. But you know what I'm saying.
You get a ticket to the Bassmaster tournament, though. So that's
you got a Bassmaster ticket. Yeah. So it was a pleasure having all of you here. Thank you so much, and looking forward to it. And by the way, so just to end off Paul's kind of threat, I'm going to end with the mayor and his message to all of us. So see everybody this weekend at Hip2B², Friday and Saturday at the Square Room. First show's at 7, second show's at 9:30, 7, and then Saturday we start all over again. So see you, and keep it laughing, everybody.
Yay.
I'm with Jim Clinaris.
Or we can just stay here until the commercial.
I'm with Jim Clinaris. We're at the Vita restaurant. Actually, we're below Vita in the vault. And when I say we're in a vault, I mean it. We are in a bank vault. So tell us about this new project, the Vita upstairs and the vault downstairs.
So it's a 2-brand concept. Basically, we opened simultaneously 2 distinct businesses. Vita, which is a pan-Latin shared plate restaurant, so tapas, features food from 7 Latin American countries. And then down below where we are is the vault. So we've got 3-ton solid steel doors that shut. They don't shut anymore. We've got them welded open, so no fear there being locked in.
And you've kept many of the original pieces from this room, like gates and that sort of thing, out in the hallway, the lobby. This the old safe deposit box rooms, and repurpose many of those pieces. Correct.
And so we've been able to salvage and reuse anything that we couldn't somewhere else in the vault. On the inside, it's got unique Art Deco, brass rail handrails, aluminum casted items. Of course, you'll see the doors themselves, these gates, a lot of marble that was manufactured in mind right here in East Tennessee at Tennessee Marble Company. They built this building.
It's my understanding that you took on this project in January of this year, while, of course, the hospitality industry tragically was being battered with the COVID-19 pandemic.
Well, it's always easy to look back in time and realize what we do. So we actually purchased the building in January of 2020, 35 or 40 days prior to the COVID-19 information coming out. Interestingly enough, my wife ended up getting cancer on the 18th of January. And so we had bought this building anticipating a great project. And then all of a sudden, I'm having second thoughts, like, what have I done? I put the entire system that we built over the last 20 years in jeopardy. But like all good projects, you have to make tough decisions. And we made the decision just to kind of roll forward. No regrets now.
You and your wife own not only Vita and the Vault, but you also own Cafe 4, the Square Room, the Press Room, and City Catering. When we talk about COVID-19, how has that impacted your businesses?
We furloughed 135 employees last March and brought them all back in mid-May. Downtown, there's a lot of fear. And unfortunately, we all deal with it. The media's out there promoting fear. There's a lot of individuals promoting fear and paralyzation. And so it definitely affected us on the employer side. We were able to sustain and provide the right service that we always have done. And we've somehow, by the grace of God, just made it all the way through.
If we could dive into the mind of an entrepreneur for a minute, take us through the process of your inspiration for something like this. I mean, I'd come down here and be like, this is really cool, but I would never think of this. So how do you come up with an idea? And then you're known for your restaurants. They're all unique and they're themed. What does that process look like from inception of the idea all the way through execution and then the final product?
I went to school as an architect and interior designer. And even though I never went into my field, it's my creative outlet. It's really my passion. My wife, Lori, she's a chef. So she has this palate that, meets people where they need to be food-wise. So it's really a partnership.
Jim, thank you for being here in Knoxville, for being a great entrepreneur, an employer, and especially for bringing all of us these unique dining experiences.
Thank you, Mayor Jacobs. We appreciate you.
KISS Caboose stands for Knoxville Information Shuttle Service. What we do is we want to be ambassadors for the local businesses here in Knoxville, especially to try to overcome the financial losses that we've had in recent COVID events. When we advertise their services, they basically sponsor free rides for anybody who wants it here within the Knoxville area. About a 4 square mile area in Knoxville and University of Tennessee. You just jump on, you give us a call at our number, and
or flag us down.
Flag us down. Gina here is the primary driver. She's our marketing expert. I'm just the director, the guy behind the scenes. You get a free ride, lots of laughs. We got music on board. We can't wait to see you.